Trends come and go. Technology is bringing us unlimited amounts of information and entertainment. One trend that we have noticed that has taken Gettysburg by storm is Pokemon Go. In 1995, Satoshi Tajiri developed a game where fictional characters would train to battle each other through the help of people called Pokemon trainers. Nintendo picked up this game and it became an instant success. Earlier this month, Pokemon Go was released to both rave and critical reviews. We wanted to take a look at how Pokemon Go relates to the historical town and battlefield of Gettysburg. Right now, I brought a friend with me.
Hello, my name's Alex Stowe, new resident of the borough of Gettysburg and new employee of Gettysburg College. Today we're going to go through town and ask some people questions about using Pokemon Go and what they've seen people do using Pokemon Go.
So, let's go take a walk.
Guys, quick question. Sheer curiosity question. Are you guys doing Pokemon right now? Do you mind if we just ask you a couple questions? We don't work for the National Park Service. We don't work for Nintendo. We have no judgment. We're not like, oh, people who Pokemon Go are bad people. Our buddy Pokemon. So I mean,
what it comes down to is that we're history nerds, and like we want to know what has been bringing you guys into town to like play and stuff.
First and foremost, like I'm 28, so I mean I remember when first Pokemon cards and there were toys in a Burger King like kids meal and so on and so forth. So like, is this your first like Pokemon, or did you? Okay, so when you were younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One. I had them all.
So you were like the ultimate trainer then.
I guess you can say that.
If someone walked up to you like a national park ranger and said like, hey, you're here doing Pokemon, do you also want to hear about like, this is the Devil's Den, like what actually happened here? Would that interest you, or are you just kind of interested in the park for being the park?
I mean, I pretty much know what all happened since history class, so I don't really come here to learn stuff.
So I mean, obviously, like some people, there's the whole like, oh, people go walking into creeks or walking into trees or walking in front of cars. But like the other thing, like when you think of places to Pokemon, like to do this, are there places you think, yeah, I should go, or no, I shouldn't go?
Highly populated areas.
So what's a place, if you were gonna be like, this is a place I definitely shouldn't go to do Pokemon, what kind of places do you think of?
Like the middle of nowhere, like a farm, people's houses, stuff like that.
If someone said to you like, hey, at the National Cemetery there's like a Pokestop, would you still go to the National Cemetery and check that out, or?
No, I don't even know where it is. Oh, yeah, no.
Okay. What do we want to do, gentlemen?
Perhaps go up to Little Round Top.
Sure.
Seems like there's more people up there.
Yeah, there does seem like there's more people up there. Plus we can just generally move back and forth. How are you doing today?
Good, how are you?
Do you mind, I'm going to go on a limb and presume you're not playing Pokemon right now.
No.
Oh my god.
So okay, I
That's
like
a
that.
sore subject.
It is a very sore
So why is
subject.
this sore subject?
Oh, wait, are you Pokemon fans?
No, so here's the deal.
Okay.
We're history nerds,
Okay.
right? So obviously there's been a ton of people coming to the battlefield because there's stuff all over the place.
Yes.
So we're trying to gauge, is there any merit to some of times people coming out here to be like, hey, while you're out here doing Pokemon stuff, like let us also tell you about the history of where you are. So
We were just disappointed that there was so much history around them, and we were trying to just kind of enjoy the peace and quiet, and all we could hear was chatter about
I found him. I found
I found them. They were like, you were totally ruining the moment for us. So
so
go
has
take
this
your
been kind of
Pokemon.
all over the battlefield, or has it been right here, or?
No, it was mostly over at the
Oh, I can't remember the name of it.
Eternal Light.
Over at the
Light.
Peace Light Monument
Peace Light,
over in north
yes.
of town. Gotcha. So there's like people even over there. Sorry, you're like staring right in the
That's
sun.
okay.
How about I stand like this? I'll stare in the sun.
Perfect.
Do you think like, I mean, you probably have feelings. If someone said, should there be Pokemon on a battlefield, how do you feel about that?
No.
I don't think so.
No.
I think this
think it
is a
draws
sacred
from
ground that you should be.
It draws from the purpose of being here.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's like appropriate.
Now, are you guys from here or are you from
No.
away?
From Texas and Oklahoma.
Oh my gosh. So you guys have come quite a way to be like, oh, there's nothing but kids running around on their cell phones the whole time.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, we've been taking tons of pictures and
Right.
posting, but
Right.
we're not like this.
Buried,
you know?
buried in your buried in your cell phone. Well, cool. Yeah, like I said, we're just at a point that we're trying to determine. Like I said, there's so many more people that have been around. More than just a few weeks ago was the anniversary.
Okay.
So it's
I
what's the
can
value?
see how that.
Since
It's
the
I'm not a gamer in any extent, so I thought it was kind of cool that they're at least getting outside,
Mhm.
even if they're being hit by cars and trains because they're not paying attention. But so in that regard, I think it's cool that they're, experiencing the park, but they're really not. They're just happen to be outside of their house.
Yeah.
There's a lot around them that they're oblivious to.
Are you guys playing Pokemon Go by any chance?
We are.
You are. Now let me ask you this question. Is it something new for you, or were you like into Pokemon like back in the day, or?
Back in the day, for sure.
Yeah.
And then it's just something to do. Get out, do something,
Yeah,
walk
right.
around, hang out,
Mhm.
something to check out.
So what have you been doing like at all the stops like throughout the battlefield?
Just checking out, seeing what's around. And then right here is like a gym, so we're like battling each other and stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now have you been all over the battlefield itself, or you
No,
been,
this
like,
is
town?
this is just we just pulled in here and we were over there and then just walked up here.
Cool.
Yeah.
Are you playing Pokemon right now?
Yeah.
So here's the deal. We're doing a project. We do not work for Nintendo. We do not work for the National Park Service. We're just kind of seeing what's got people coming out to the battlefield these days. So,
Just rare Pokemon.
yeah?
Yeah.
So,
Stuff I can't find anywhere else local.
so I mean, I'm 28. I remember Pokemon when I was a little kid. Is this kind of like a
Yeah.
rejuvenation, walk down memory lane for you?
Yeah, basically.
So have you been just here on the battlefield? You've been kind of going all over the place?
I've been down to the beach down in Ocean City and
Yeah.
stuff catching too.
Nice.
Lately, so.
So are you from Philly or?
No, I'm actually from Shippensburg. I'm real close.
Okay. So, but is this your first time doing Pokemon?
In Gettysburg, yeah.
Yeah. If you would say these are places I'd go do Pokemon, and then these are places I wouldn't go do Pokemon, what would you say?
I mean, anywhere busy traffic-wise would be a bad idea.
Yeah.
But like walking around the trails and going to the park, and boardwalk's good too.
Yeah. Now, if someone, of course, like someone would say, like, oh, there's really places you shouldn't go. Like in your mind, it's like, oh, I'd never go do this here. What kind of places would come to mind?
I'd say like downtown New York, stuff like that where there's a lot of traffic. Just it makes it harder for other people.
Oh, so cool. Thank you. That, like I said, it's just kind of we're getting different perspectives. We're all history nerds, so for
Okay.
some of us, it's like, okay, what happens if we show up to the battlefield in Civil War uniforms? Would people like stop and be like, oh, hey, well, I'm out here doing this, but what the heck are you doing here in a uniform?
Yeah.
Do you think that's something you'd engage with, or?
I mean, I've talked to people before that are walking around in
Yeah.
Civil War attire.
Yeah.
Being local, it's normal for me.
Yeah, it's a
'cause,
different perspective.
Yeah, I come here every couple months or so.
Is the battlefield the only place that you've been so far catching?
No, my home, work, and here.
Yeah.
I'm not on it all the time though.
So when you think of places like, oh yeah, this is a good place to go do this, like this is a good place to go find Pokemon, what places do you think of?
I'm not big on it. I just got it. I'm not.
No, that's totally fine. Like someone.
I think of work. I think at where I work at.
Yeah. And do you like think there's places like, oh, I definitely wouldn't like go do Pokemon here?
Well, yeah, you want to go to a funeral home and say, hey, look, I found a Pokemon or whatever.
Yeah, it's a bit uncouth. So yeah, no, like I said, we're just we do historical stuff. So part of this is being like, hey, if you came out to the battlefield and you were looking at Pokemon and you saw a couple of guys not in suits but in Civil War uniforms, do you think you'd stop and talk to them?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Well, cool. Yeah, like I said, it's just trying to figure out like there's tons of people coming. So does it benefit like volunteers to come and hang out at the park and kind of tell that story?
Yeah, totally. It's a good learning experience, especially if you're still in school.
Okay. Holy crap. How's it going, guys? One of the things we're talking about is like when you think of places that you should go, what are places you think of?
Definitely Gettysburg.
Yeah, just because it has so many monuments and stuff, which are all Pokestops and whatnot.
Gotcha. And what about places like you definitely shouldn't go?
Graveyards.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So like if someone said, oh, you can find a Pokemon in the National Cemetery, would you go there?
Probably not.
Yeah.
Is it a rare Pokemon or not?
Well, yeah, you gotta be fair with yourself. Do you think, like, as you're walking around, if you found a couple of guys that were at these different monuments, at different Pokestops, that weren't in suits, they were in Civil War uniforms, and were like part of the whole experience, would you stop and talk to them, or are you guys from around here and it's like,
We're from
okay,
like 10 minutes away.
so it's okay, it's Gettysburg, there's guys in Civil War
Yeah.
suits, surprise, freaking surprise.
Yeah,
Like, Gotcha. Well, cool, yeah, that's kind of, like I said, we're just trying to figure out, with everyone coming, like, is there any benefit to putting more people out, or is it just people going on the trails, like you said?
Are you playing Pokemon?
Maybe.
Okay.
We
That's perfect. Because
certainly are, but we're trying to be respectful. And you know, it was neat. We were driving up here tonight,
uh-huh.
and you know, you have the scenic markers, historic markers, and stuff. And so many times you're whizzing by the road, and you're like, man, you know, I wish I could read that.
Yeah.
Now you can.
And so they have markers where
Yeah.
the
So for you see a lot of times the blue. Yeah. So as you're going by in a car.
Wait a minute, you're interviewing and you don't play?
No, I don't play. No,
That's
I'm not, and
okay.
I'm not being biased by it. Like,
His job is
Okay.
to interview.
Yeah.
But anyway, so something like that roadside marker, even though you're whizzing by in a car and you can't do the game thing, the information on the markers is
It
just
stays
is
with
just as much fun as the game is.
Yeah.
I said earlier about trying to be respectful. Just walking around, we get out of the car, and I have a hard time just walking around.
He's retired military, therefore,
So like we walked up, and yeah, we had this going, but I kind of put that down, and I'm looking out over the fence line here, and in my mind, trying to imagine the noise and that tragedy, that time that our nation.
If there were a couple of guys, instead of in suits, there were a couple guys in Civil War uniforms that were kind of here to talk to, do you think you'd stop and engage with them?
Oh yeah, this guy's got a cat tribute, and I just want to talk to him because he's got that.
Yeah.
No, we're not crazy like obsessed.
Yeah, we're not the computer
game,
nerd type.
but
We're really
Like
not.
the small,
it's just
we live in a
with our
small
granddaughter.
town. It's about 3,000 people. People are out walking. People are out.
Talking. First time I walked with my daughter and granddaughter down into town, we must have spoke to 15 people. We've lived in that town 3 years, and I don't think I've spoken to 2 at a time walking into town.
You know, if people are doing this and it gets them out, and God knows it's
Socializing.
probably helping the economies of the world. I read something the other week, 3 days after this was out, just iOS users in the U.S., not Android, iOS users are spending $1.2 million a day on in-app purchases.
Crazy. Yeah.
They estimate in the U.S. alone, they're talking about it's going to be $1 billion in a year.
So you guys are obviously playing Pokemon right now.
Yes, we are.
You guys from around here? You from far away, I presume? Maybe New Oxford?
Yeah, we're from like Gettysburg area.
Gotcha. So, is this your first time coming to the battlefield to do Pokemon?
First time with a Peace Light.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is
We've been over to Devil's Den before and
Yeah.
other places.
Seeing a lot of people as you go out.
Oh yeah.
Is this like Pokemon's brand new to you guys? You remember it from when you were younger, and it's kind of like reminiscent.
Yeah. I played it on the Game Boy in the 90s when I was little.
Yeah.
So it's
Like when
not
you're
really
young.
new.
Yeah.
It's funny. I'm from around here, but I've never been to the Peace Light. So
Okay.
yeah, I've been to Devil's Den and Little Round Top, but this is actually the first time I've ever been here because of the app. So you know, it's bringing me to new places and I'm seeing new stuff, and there is a feature that you can actually read the monuments through the app. So I've been doing that a little bit too.
So if instead of 2 guys in suits, you ran to 2 guys in Civil War uniforms that were just up here at the Peace Light, would you talk to them and be like, hey, what are you doing here?
We've done that already.
Yeah,
actually.
we asked them questions over at Devil's Den.
Little Round Top, they were
Just because they were there, and we started talking to them.
Cool. Very cool. Well, thank you. If you don't mind me asking, Do you have an opinion on like all the young people who are coming around here with their cell phones, playing the game, that sort of thing?
To each his own. I just don't find it the least bit fascinating. So
yeah.
I don't know what it's all about or don't care, but they can obviously do what they
right,
want.
Right.
But they're missing.
Well, that's just it. They're overlooking
yeah.
what matters more, I think. But again, that's their.
Our daughter put it on her phone and deleted it almost immediately. She's gonna forget it.
Yeah.
She's 35 years old though, so she was
yeah.
No, it wasn't happening.
But I mean, for you guys, I mean, obviously, the sunset's pretty, you know, and that sort of thing. I imagine having your connection, you know, come here. It's just a place that you feel kind of a natural attraction to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So we decided to take a few minutes away from our interviews to see what we came up with.
It's been interesting to see that this is not a polar issue. This is really quite diverse, not only in it's not just young kids playing, but it's also not just everyone saying this is awful if they're not playing.
And we ran into people from all over the country too. People from East Coast, West Coast, New York to Florida, and even people local that are just now having experience to go out on the battlefield of the national park, even though they lived here the whole time, just because of this app.
One of the neatest things about this app is that once you go on there, there's certain things you can press, and it'll bring up the information from the monument. And along with that, there's also a link to one of the Winky pages, and then you can actually use it that way to get even more information.
And we saw that even locals, while that was a common thread, that a lot of the young people were from around the area, that there were locals that they'd probably been to the battlefield for multiple field trips, and yet they were going to areas in the battlefield they'd never been to just because of the app.
Since I moved into town, there's been people all over the place, and we've been trying to figure out, like, you know, what are people's thoughts on it? Is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? How often do they play? That kind of stuff.
Well,
so, what are your opinions on it?
I think it's a little dangerous because where was it? By us, someone actually drove their car in, or they were walking, and they showed on the news because we don't live here. We live in Susquehanna County.
Okay.
So they were out by the lake, and they're walking. Next thing you see is like he fell in the lake, and his a pussy ruined his phone. People are not paying attention.
Yeah.
I think it's honestly it's worse than texting because you have to actually find this animal and they're just distracted.
Try to remove yourself. I mean, this is unique, right?
Right.
You go to Gettysburg College, obviously huge connection to Civil War history.
Absolutely.
You're working for the National Park Service in Richmond. Try to separate yourself from this.
Okay.
Like, in your own morals, where would be places that you would say, I want to go and Pokemon here, I shouldn't go Pokemon there? Like, what's the here, what's the not there?
Okay, so cemeteries I think should definitely avoid. I think that's definitely a red flag there. Battlefields, I'm kind of torn on because it's definitely hallowed ground, but also, especially recently, it's really also green space too. And a lot of locals use it for recreational purposes. And I think that's cool too. I like that dual purpose of battlefields. So I think those are, I can see both sides there. Non-hallowed ground sites, so historical sites that really don't have, nobody died there, there wasn't a sign of conflict. I can see, sure. Why not?
Well, after a full day of interviews here in Gettysburg, both in town and out on the battlefield, we've really learned quite a lot about Pokemon Go.
It's been very interesting to see some people all for the game, some people against, and then some people that were against the game learn a little bit about the history, app, features, and all that stuff, and then they were really into it.
It's interesting to see it wasn't just a bunch of young kids who loved technology and loved the game and old people that hated it. It was an application that really brought people to different parts of the field that they never would have been before if they'd never played.
Also, the ability to be social seems to be a big part of the app as well.
Yeah, it's one thing to say you've lived in a town for 3 years, talked to 2 people your whole life, and downloaded Pokemon, and now you've talked to 15 people in a week.
Fantastic. Well, that's a wrap for Old Timey Time. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Guy Game.
And I'm Alex Stowe.
Hope to see you next time.